Your next CPU could be from Nvidia. According to a recent report, Nvidia is reportedly making ARM-based CPUs for Windows. And not only Nvidia, we have seen some rumors that AMD is also working on ARM-based CPUs. But the question is, why everybody is trying to make ARM-based CPUs? And even if they make ARM-based CPUs, should you buy one? Well, let's talk about that. First, let's talk about why everybody is trying to make ARM-based CPUs. Most of the modern day CPUs use x86 architecture, at least what is inside your laptops and your desktop. Now, the x86 architecture was developed by Intel and it is still owned by Intel. So that means anybody who wants to make a CPU for laptops and desktop has to get a license from Intel and have to pay royalty on every single CPU that they sell. And yes, AMD has the license to use x86 architecture and does pay Intel the royalty. ARM-based CPUs follows a RISC instruction set or reduce instruction set cycle. On the other hand, x86 architecture CPUs is based on CISC instruction set or complex instruction set cycle. Now, as the name suggests, the reduced instruction set cycle is much more simpler and easier to develop compared to CISC. Why not everybody is switching to ARM-based CPUs or RISC-based architecture? Well, to put it simply, it's not that simple. There are some major problems that have been persistent with RISC-based architecture or RISC processors. First, RISC use much more RAM than CISC. RISC is a very software-centric design. It has lesser instruction, like very limited number of instructions that you can use in it, and also it's a single cycle instruction. And these are some technical problems that have been major issue with RISC based CPUs, but thanks to continuous development by ARM, right now these major issues are not big hurdle. We can develop and make a good ARM CPUs. As I've said, Apple is the big example. Then the major issue comes in the operating system. Not only you need a good hardware, you also need good operating system to operate that hardware, and that is the reason Apple have been so successful with their ARM switch, because up to down they complete their whole user experience for their PC devices. They not only develop their own operating system, they also develop majority of the hardware. So that is the reason the vertical integration between the hardware and software is so good, and that is also the reason why Apple can push developers to switch from x86 based design to a ARM based design. On the other hand, Windows also launched the ARM based Windows version, but it's not good. Not only developers are not willing to develop ARM-based Windows app, because the reason is there are not a lot of users using ARM-based Windows. So that's the reason even if they develop, there are not going to be a lot of users, so they don't want to spend that development time over something. Also, emulation doesn't work with apps and games, and that's a big problem. The reason why people use Windows over Mac is the vast support of apps, specifically the vast support of games. And if you are using a ARM based Windows and you cannot play any game, and even if you can somehow found a way to download, install, or found a game, or you're trying to emulate a game, it runs terrible on Windows based ARM or ARM based Windows devices. And that's the reason it didn't got the traction it needed. Because there are not a lot of product, Microsoft is doing very slow progression on the development side. And because all of this reason all together, customers like you and me are not preferring the ARM based Windows operating system or any ARM based Windows device. I think that in future we're gonna see more and more ARM based Windows device. The reason is not Microsoft itself or not ARM based CPUs are so good. The reason is Nvidia. If this report is true that Nvidia is making ARM-based CPUs, and it's gonna come as early as 2025. One thing that Nvidia is very, very good at, and that is playing gambles. Nvidia have played gambles throughout its rise or throughout its birth. Jensen Huang is a very smart man. When he plays gamble, after playing the gamble, he knows how to make that successful. When he introduced CUDA, he knew that if people starts to learn CUDA and starts to know that how good CUDA can be, then developers will develop their products on CUDA. He knew after introducing ray tracing on their GPUs, they didn't like, oh, look at this, we have ray tracing. This strategically improved ray tracing with each and every single year. Not only that, they have been pushing games to have much better ray tracing quality. And after introducing DLSS, they made DLSS so good that right now, for a lot of people, it is prefer to use DLSS at a higher resolution when you're playing 4K or 1440p rather than rasterizing or playing that game natively. And that's what Nvidia does. They not only implement technology, they also know how to make it adopt for the market. And if you want to watch more videos from us, check out this video right here. Again, if you want to subscribe, if you haven't subscribed, well, do it by here. And there's Akash, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. And yeah, don't forget to like and dislike or comment down in the description.